Studio110.live, a minute early, not a minute late. That's what we do around here. Studio110.live. Follow us on our IG page. Studio110.live. Man, we got some cool videos up there, some great pictures. Man, yesterday was a great Monday afternoon show to kick off the big week. Shout out to my guy Steve Lobel that was on. Steve Lobel is an iconic member, as he said so well, not the music industry, the music business. There's a big difference between the music industry and the music business. A soul member on the responsibility end of Bone Thugs and Harmony, selling over 40 million albums. Personal friends with people like Jay-Z, Kanye West. A big deal in the music business. So a big shout out to Steve Lobel. My guy Mike the Rickter was on yesterday, and he's moved over to the cannabis side of the business. So it was really good to talk to him about Wham Oil, his new co-ownership of that bad boy. Of course, he's on the front cover of one of the magazines called Northwest Leaf. Thanks, Rickter, for being on with me yesterday. Him and I used to actually compete one another back in the day. He was on KISW. Of course, I was on Cube 93. Both did afternoons. But, you know, like he said it so well yesterday, even though we've always competed, now we're back, and we did a great on-air segment yesterday, and it was all about respect and good communication, and it was a really good segment. Who else was on yesterday's show? Mr. Network brought in my guy Eric brought in his new female artist. Had an opportunity to play that song. That sounded so good on the air. Going to keep that thing into rotation to the fullest. And I don't want to forget who else was on the show. I had Eric, Mr. Network. I had Steve Lobel. I had the Rickter. Oh, of course, Gianni. Gianni has left for Las Vegas to embark on his new mission called Clubbin' 101. I wish him all the best. I know he's listening to me in the car. They're probably approaching Idaho by now, on their way down to good old Nevada. So safe travels, my guy. It was a pleasure to have you on the air here the few times that you were in the studio with me, and looking forward to having you on the phone and coming down and really seeing what you're building up for yourself with Clubbin' 101 and good old Viva Las Vegas. All right, a couple stories that I would like to talk about. Yes?
Vitamin D.
Oh, vitamin D. Yes, vitamin D. Thank you. Vitamin D was on the air yesterday as well. Couldn't forget about Vitamin D, a legendary producer. Yesterday was just a busy, big show. So I like busy shows. I like having multiple people in here at once and channeling through different artists and special guests. So big shout out to Vitamin D. Looking forward to keeping in contact with Mr. Vitamin D. And he's got a lot of artists he wants to be bringing in. And I think he said it the best, man. He was super happy to have me back on the air. And just the platform that we're creating here with my boy Ryan and FutureNet, and just everything that we're doing here with CMP Entertainment, with the Comedy Jam coming up. It's a big old deal. You're going to definitely want to get those tickets right now. They're on sale right now at the Showware Center box office. Man, we got Bill Bellamy coming. We got a whole huge list of A-level talent. We got D. Ray Davis. We got Bill Bellamy. We got Dion Cole. We got Ada Rodriguez. We got Melody Camacho. Man, we're not bringing you one. We're bringing you 6 A-list top-notch celebrities for the Icons of Comedy 2018. Tickets available at Accesso Showware Center box office. You can go to www.tickets.accessoshowarecenter.com. Hit them up, 253-856-6777. Starts at 7:30 on June 30th. Don't miss this event, y'all. Man, come on out. Come out. Can't come out. Puyallup, come out Federal Way. Come out Tacoma. Come out Seattle. Come out Bellevue. You know what I'm saying. All right. I know before I get to my first guest who's going to be on with me, Christopher Riley from good old Canada. He's standing by. Are we ready for him? Okay, cool. I will put my appropriate, in radio terms, fader up so he can hear me, and hopefully he'll be able to hear me, and we'll be able to get our guy on. So until he comes on, so much to talk about today: technology, music, the icons of comedy. Another little recap of my big launch party this past Saturday up here at Studio110.Labs headquarters. Man, we had so many celebrities and VIP guests up here this past Saturday. We had my boy Josh from the Deadliest Catch, #1 show on his network, 14th season. 14th season. You know why he's my guy? Because you know what? He looks out for people. Shout out to our bartender, Drago. He didn't even have a drink in his hand. Josh pulls out a $100 bill and gives it to our bartender. right at the beginning of the night. That's the type of friends that I have. People that, want to support people, trying to come up a little bit in the ranks and, be able to provide them for themselves. So Josh was here. Man, there were so many people here. Nasty Ness was here. Miss Vietnam was here. Miss World was here. Miss Washington was here. I know I'm leaving out KJ Saka was here, a huge member of the EDM scene. So it was a star-studded event. If you missed it, you're not going to want to miss the future one. Is Christopher Riley on with me? Christopher, can you hear me? Chris, are you there? Okay, until we get Chris worked out, we might have he's calling it from another country, so sometimes we'll have these little technical difficulties. But Kanye West, every time Kanye's in music news, I gotta talk about it here on the show at Studio110.live. Kanye West, the Taylor Swift moment helped trigger my breakdown. I've been waiting for the story to actually come out. So Kanye West says Taylor Swift was one of the factors that caused his nervous breakdown in 2016, namely the aftermath of exposing her and how it affected his radio play. Kanye released his interview with my guy Charlamagne the God from the Breakfast Club out there in New York City. So nice that I named it frickin' twice today. And he says, the first few minutes he explains what led to him being hospitalized in late November 2016. He says ever since he and Kim posted that video of the whole kind of Taylor Swift issue, he knew about his famous lyrics ahead of time. His relationship with radio has never been the same. He admits he wanted major radio play as one of the most popular artists in the world and says the fact he simply wasn't getting it after he released Life of Pablo screwed with his head royally. Kanye also notes that the departure of L.A. Reid from Universal Music Group might have affected his radio dynamic, but it says it was just one of the many stressors in his life at that point. So it took a couple years for Kanye to come out and explain what was the real issue with that, but now we know. What else is coming in today on the hot wire here of music news stories? Okay, this is another story that I definitely want to talk about. Avicii. We've been speculating. We've been hearing the rumors. We've been hearing family and press and different representation from Avicii's camp coming out and talking about what ultimately was, the tragic event that led up to his passing at only 28 years old. Well, now I've got the answer. Avicii, unfortunately, never like to talk about this on the show. He committed suicide with broken glass he used to cut himself. This is coming to me from TMZ. Multiple sources familiar with the circumstances surrounding the famous DJ's death tell TMZ he did indeed take his own life, something his parents alluded to last week. Sources say that the method of death was a shard of glass that caused massive bleeding. Two sources tell Avicii broke a bottle and used the glass to inflict the fatal wound. One of the sources say it was a wine bottle. Two sources also tell TMZ the point of injury was Avicii's neck, but another strongly denies that, saying it was his wrist. No one can confirm this quite yet, but the sources were pretty specific in terms of the information they provided out to the news outlet that I'm reporting right now on my show at Studio110.live about Avicii's death. He's only 28 years old, and unfortunately he did take his own life. He had about $88 million, and I guess, he made the money so quick that it caught up with him. Last, Avicii's family did release a statement that included the clear message in his suicide. He really did struggle with thoughts about meaning, life, happiness. He could not go on any longer. He wanted to find peace. So that, unfortunately, is the latest with Avicii. Now we do know that he did, unfortunately, tragically take his own life at the age of 28, and it's unfortunate because he had such a strong fan base that will always remember and support Avicii. One other story, if I have time to talk about it, I will this afternoon. Another story about good old Kanye. He thought his doctors would actually kill him. During his hospital stay for his mental breakdown, he actually really did think his doctors taking care of him, looking out for his best interest, would actually take his own life. Not a funny story, but sometimes when Kanye describes things and how he elaborates things, it can be a little bit comical. This is no new thing for Kanye West to come out and elaborate and give his vantage point and version of how he how he feels, either side of the story should be, put together. I mean, there's always two sides to a story. We all know that. But sometimes when Kanye West is talking about examples of things that he is dealing with, it's only really Kanye's answer at the end of the day. He did say that he thought he'd get killed while being hospitalized at UCLA after suffering a mental breakdown. In the newly released interview with, once again, my guy Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne the God and Kanye are good friends. He talks about his 8-day hospitalization. He says Kim was out of town when it happened, so he was only accompanied by friends when he was first admitted. Kanye said he begged his friends not to leave his side, but at one point they were forced to, and Kanye calls it the scariest moment of his life ever. Kanye mentions he thought docs would actually drug him and kill him while he wouldn't actually notice and while he was alone. He also opens up to Charlemagne the God's show about his medication, saying he was on several, but doesn't mention them by name. So sounds like he's in a better place now. He's recently come out and said that he's putting out 2 new albums, one with the guy Kid Cudi, who reminds me a lot of Kanye West, and the other one will be more focused on Kanye West music. So I wish him nothing but success on his new album. Sounds like are we who are we? It sounds like, is this Christopher Riley? Okay, Christopher Riley here will be on the phone with me.
Hi, it's Christopher Riley.
Christopher Riley, welcome to the big show, Studio 110.live. Thank you for, usually I wouldn't say this, but thank you for giving me a few minutes to open up my show this afternoon, talking about some pressing music news stories. So it worked out perfectly. I know you were supposed to be on with me a few minutes ago, but we're a little backlogged just because it's a busy show. We got a lot of guests, and super excited to have you on. So you're on the line with me, and you're a Canadian.
No, I am an American. I've got a Canadian girlfriend.
Oh, I was told
so
that you were
up here a lot.
I was told that you were calling me from Canada.
I am. I'm in White Rock, Canada, British Columbia right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Basically looking out at the beach and the sunshine. It's gorgeous here.
Gotcha. I thought you were actually. I knew you were calling me from Canada, but I actually thought you were Canadian as well. So, gotcha. Great, wonderful. Well, welcome to the big show. Thanks for being on. I love Canada. Haven't spent a lot of time up there, but usually when I go up there, it's to Vancouver. It's a wonderful little road trip, couple 2.5 hours, 3 hours, depending on the route you go. And Vancouver is a great city. Which city are you calling me from right now?
I'm calling you from White Rock, which is literally like 5 minutes over the border. It's the sunniest city in Canada, they say.
Nice. So you're right by the Peace Arch there.
Yeah, I can literally look out the window here and see the Peace Arch across the water.
Nice. That's a great area. That's a really nice area, and there's so much, that body of water and the park, and just a great place to live, man. So excited to have you on, and you're my first guest that I've actually had on from Canada. I one of my upcoming guests, I have a few of them, but one of my upcoming guests that'll be on is, and I don't know if you know him or not, my guy Jeff Martini. He owns like the #1 men's and women's clothing boutique on Robson and Hornby Street, right across the street from the new Nordstroms they just built up there.
Nice. Actually, I spend most of my time from Seattle. I'm originally from California, and I've been in Seattle since like '93.
Okay.
I come up here, maybe like I don't know, probably about 1 or 2 weeks out of the month. But most of the time, I spend most of my time downtown Seattle. That's home for me.
There you go. Well, it's good to have you on the line here at Studio 110.live. Dirty Harry back on the hot seat. All right, Christopher Riley on the line with me from Civil Records and actually radio. So you kind of bring the whole dynamic duo to your platform.
Yeah, I moved to Seattle in like '93. Started doing grunge music. Kind of like what everyone was doing at the time. I kind of have a history of computers coming from Silicon Valley. I've been doing that a lot too. And about 2010, I finally married my music career with my computer career and started doing EDM. I really haven't turned back since. 10 albums, 125 tracks. Like, I love making music, and really electronic music is where I've found my little niche.
That's cool. Well, I'm sure you know the name KJ Saka, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Kevin and I kind of go way back.
So Kevin,
He's a mogul in this industry, and he's very unique in the sense that he plays a live instrument. And, a lot of people in the EDM industry, they don't do that kind of stuff.
yep.
So he's quite the anomaly.
He's a good guy. He was at my launch party this past Saturday. We had a big event here, a lot of celebrities, and KJ was here. And looks like I'm having dinner or lunch with him on Thursday. So looking forward to discussing some fun business opportunities.
Nice.
Shout out to my guy Nolan for organizing that and bringing KJ Saka to the big party this past Saturday night. So let's talk about EDM. I mean, EDM is, no one should be unfamiliar with EDM and just the traction and the movement that it's been creating, not only here in the Northwest, but just around the globe. I mean, it's
huge.
It's huge. It's powerful. It's got such a strong fan
no
base.
Doubt about it. It's huge.
Yep.
Music, music is evolved, and I think, I'm not a young pup. I'm not in my early 20s. I'll just stay with that. I've been doing music for a long, long, long time, and the transition happened, I don't know, probably about 2000 or so. I started to see a lot of hip-hop really coming to the surface. And, a lot of the talent in hip-hop, music-wise, not lyric and vocal-wise, but the music-wise, was really these new budding EDM people, right? They may not have even realized it, but they drove us for a long time, probably a decade or so, until we finally, broke through and really started having our own big EDM one-name hits and stuff, right?
Yep.
It's been a wonderful trip, that's for sure.
That's cool. And so you've been in the music scene here in Seattle since '93. I was a junior in high school at Roosevelt in '93, and you've been in it for a while.
A long time, my friend.
So you've seen a lot of changes.
Too long,
You've seen a lot of changes.
Yeah, and it's been a fun ride. I mean, in the Northwest, we're a pretty small market. I come from the Bay Area, where it's like millions of people. The Northwest, we're maybe a million good listeners of music on a good afternoon.
Yep.
So it's kind of a different scene here. It's very tight knit. A lot of us have been here for a long time. There's a lot of new faces, but like I said, this scene has been solid for a long time, and I'm just super happy to be a part of it myself,
And I'm happy to have you on the show, man. Christopher Riley on the air with me right now, Studio 110.live, the man behind Civil Records, and you've got a lot going on. And with that being said, you were definitely one of the first, I'm not going to say pioneers, but you were definitely one of the earlier guys that kind of broke into the EDM scene back in 2010 here in Seattle, and I'm sure in the last 8 years you've seen a lot of changes in EDM.
Well, it's been huge. We started out as kind of an eclectic group, mainly getting airplay on C89 and such, which now is huge, right?
Yep. Shout out to my guy John McDaniel there.
Yeah, no, they're a fantastic organization, not only for us, the musicians and stuff, but the listeners, but really the kids that run the station. They're like a high school station or something.
Yep, they are.
And they're just fantastic. I cannot say enough good things about them,
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I had a conversation with John McDaniel a couple weeks ago because I manage with my guy Nasty Nest a group here locally called the High Children that maybe I'll have an opportunity to introduce you to here someday, Christopher. And they're being played right now on C89 thanks to John and a good conversation that we had 29 times a week. So it's going well.
They debut a lot of local music around here, and they should really be commended for that. They're like Friday night and Saturday night shows are just riddled with local talent.
Yep.
And sometimes you might not even notice, but it's they're kids from right around here, and it's really important for our scene. It's really hard to kind of break into this scene sometimes because we aren't so big as maybe other markets. But it's a grooming community. There's a lot of places you can go around here to really kind of get your feet wet, so to speak.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then we've got a lot of high end places we got our 5-year anniversary at Foundation Nightclub for Substance Wednesdays, just like tomorrow.
Congratulations.
That's huge.
Congratulations.
Right? Foundation is huge club. USC kills it around here. Shout out to them.
Shout out to Chad.
We do have a very thriving community from the bottom end to the top end,
We really do. And it's funny that you just mentioned foundation, because that was kind of my next topic of conversation that I wanted to speak to you about. And not a lot of markets really have a venue like a foundation that really applies the genre of what EDM music is currently doing with, Chad from USC and all the promoters and everybody like yourself that really tracks that correct pulse into play.
Well, it's the people. We've got some super key people behind the scenes that quite frankly are immeasurable. I think the first one that comes to mind is Gianni Martinez, right?
Sure.
He's another kid that came out of C89. Now he's been working with USC and Foundation. Pretty much Substance Wednesday is his night. But I mean, think of the countless kids he's brought to the table. Like in the last 10 years, I've watched Keanu bring, I don't know, probably 100 local kids to the scene every year, all 10 of those years.
Yep.
People like that they're indispensable in our industry, and we're really lucky to have some of those kind of people here. We really are. People like KJ and stuff. He brings a lot of people to the table too. I don't know if you're familiar with Super Square.
Yep.
They just came out with another track like yesterday. They're a hand-groomed piece of KJ's work.
Yep.
We've got the people in place here, and we've got the talent in place. Everybody goes out and has a really good time. We have excellent nightlife here in this town. I'm stoked to be a part of it, man.
Well, one thing that you probably definitely seen yourself, Christopher, is how the nightlife scene, really ultimately originated kind of in Pioneer Square. Then it went to Belltown. Now it's really up on Capitol Hill. And when we talk about EDM, Q nightclub. I mean, before Q opened up, there was Foundation. There were other outlets around the city, but I'm sure you remember when Q opened up their doors on Capitol Hill. Like that was the place to be. I mean, that was
absolutely.
That was the spot.
And between that and Block Party blowing up, I mean, especially when the weather is nice, man, Capitol Hill is the place to be sometimes, right? Yeah, Numos has good shows. There's like a lot of good stuff up on the hill for sure.
Well, sounds like
but, also spread out around town too. We've got other big names like Aston Manor, Trinity, and things like that. But then we've got the little clubs like Monkey Loft and these smaller venues that are also really doing well right now. I mean, really well, right?
And I'm happy to see that too. That everybody is showing love and support to the big venues, to the small venues, and I think you and I probably know a lot of the same people too. Just people at Q and Foundation, and of course Chad from USC, and it's a great group of people. KJ, yourself. I mean, the EDM scene is just a really kind of well-respected scene. Especially in this market where people want to help each other out.
Yep,
especially with
we've got two new big ones too. We got Jason DiMaggio with Aura.
Yep.
I heard Sean Majors, a Q guy,
Yep.
I think he's got like kind of a speakeasy or some sort of interesting club going on that's starting up soon.
Yep.
There's a lot of fun stuff in this town right now. A lot, man.
Well,
and Civil X Music has always been a part of it, and I will always be a part of this scene.
Yeah, no, and I don't know.
I'm here to help kids. I'm here to help everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if you and I have ever had the opportunity to actually meet face to face. I don't think we have, but I'm looking forward to meeting you sometime if you ever want to come up here to our headquarters.
It's going to happen soon, my friend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So I want to kind of merge into now the label that you started about 3 years ago, and I have a lot of local artists that listen to the show that have been on there with me. Vitamin D, a local well-known producer and artist, was up here with me yesterday, and he's working with a whole bunch of different artists. And the specific question is, from you. Having the proper understanding to leverage a label in the correct manner by kicking it off and knowing the type of talent that you want to acquire and take under your wing ultimately, and create a new pathway for a lot of these guys. What are some key fundamental things that you look for when you're ultimately signing new artists or being able to bring people onto your label, Chris?
Well, the first and foremost thing is you fall under the genre. That is to say, the motto, right? And my motto is epic and dramatic electronic dance music, which I chose that to be very broad because it can be very broad, right? The next criteria would be creativity. Like, there's a lot of problem in EDM is that a lot of it can be pretty recycled, right? And sometimes, you know, you get a whole flurry of new music, but it isn't really that new, right? So I try and really look for things that are outstandingly creative. They're a little different. I may not like it. I may love it. I may hate it. I may cherish it. I may want to throw it in the garbage. But if it's really different and it falls under that general motto of being epic and dramatic, like being big and hefty, not just easy, then you know, I push forward. The reason I started the label to begin with was I was contracted with a bunch of local labels and one national label, and I found that it just got kind of tricky. Like, I was jumping through a bunch of their hoops, and I was changing things to meet their criteria, and I didn't need to. You know, my music is my music, and I choose it. I don't necessarily craft it for anybody else other than myself, right? And I look for that in the musicians that I sign. I look for people that are a little different, that aren't necessarily trying to make the exact same norm stuff, but are really trying to do something unique and on the edge. You know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I think everybody is more happy with the end product when it goes that way.
Sure.
So, you know, so that's what I try and do.
And you know what's cool is you're not only you on the EDM side of the overall platform in the music business, but you also have a technology company as well called Seattle Software Manufacturing Operation. So let's talk about just on the technology software side, your day to day in terms of everything that you do with that, and if that ties into EDM as well.
Well, I mean, let's face it, this is where the music scene is at now.
Sure.
You know, it's completely digital, right? For a long time, I kept my music separate from my computer stuff. I'm kind of a lifelong computer dork, right? You know, I was always successful in computers and always successful in music, and I think I had always in the back of my mind worried that if I married the two and was unsuccessful, that would really kind of hurt my ego, right?
Sure.
So I waited a long time to do it, I guess. I probably could have started in the early 2000s, but I chose to wait. You know, I play over 20 instruments and such. I mean, like, I'm very well trained musically. I have a really extensive computer background. I'm pretty well trained there. I was really worried about the two colliding and then not being able to make the things that I wanted. What I found instead was absolute freedom and liberation. Being able to make music with the computer stuff was really fantastic, and it opened me up to be able to generate any sounds I ever wanted to make. Now, aside from that, the music industry and the business part of it is also all digital,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And here I am on the side by day building these small businesses and making them websites and trying to get them up in the search engines and trying to get their media produced and media, you know, put out in platforms. And then you've got the marketing and the social media and you know, meanwhile you got to be doing graphics and making music videos. And like, I mean, there's so much digital media and digital technology that goes into the business end of the music industry. You know, I got lucky because that's what I do by day. So I'm able to incorporate all of that kind of stuff into my label and help my artists, help myself by having websites and teaching them how to do good social media marketing and reminding them that their Facebook is that's not who they're selling to, right?
Well, not only that, but, you know, I think it's, and I understand why they do it, but you still see artists, and you just mentioned, you know, a very important aspect of this conversation, Christopher, is the music business for some time now has been going digital. Record companies don't send out CDs anymore. And you still
no, man, that stuff costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and you still
see they aren't willing or don't have the funds available to do that kind of thing anymore. Whereas you can do it digitally for pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah, and you still see local artists here in Seattle, and you know, God bless these guys. You know, I want their careers to, you know, to really take off to the levels that they need to be, but they still are focused on selling CDs. And you know, you got to and
they're still trying to sell to their Facebook friends, which is right. Like, I I mean, that is the, you think Seattle's a tiny market. I guarantee you, your Facebook friend list is an even tinier market.
Yeah, I love those guys, and they're always cool. They always stop me when I'm walking around downtown Seattle. There's a couple guys that sell their CDs outside of Nordstrom's, and sometimes just kind of being
yes, I see those guys too. Down, are you talking in Bellevue? Or are you talking the guys downtown?
No, I think if they did it in Bellevue, they'd probably be in custody. But I'm talking about the guys
No,
downtown.
there's two. I see the guys in Bellevue too. It cracks me up. I mean, it's good, and I applaud their enthusiasm. But I'm sure there's more profitable things they could be doing with their time. I'm just saying.
But I like playing Wallflower though, standing on the corner of like 5 and Pine, across the street by Nordstrom's Rack there, or Zara. And, people are taking money out of their pocket to take this CD, and then they even get an autograph. And they're thinking that they're, meeting the next, Pharrell or whatever it is.
You never know, man. You literally, you just never know, right?
You never know. You never know. And I get it's the hustle and the ambition and the control that you want to be able to have with your one-on-one fan base. But, one day, and it's already happening, the CDs already are obsolete. Vehicles are not.
They're gone, man. And that's a big reason. Another big reason why I generated my label was that I wanted Beatport exposure, because honestly, in EDM, if you're not on Beatport, you don't exist.
Yeah.
Right. The EDM world, we use Billboard once we go top 40, but before that, EDM doesn't show up on Billboard. Dubstep, drum and bass, jungle, these don't show up on Billboard.
Gotcha.
So we've got our own setup, and that's Beatport.
Okay.
So it's important, it's important. It's hard to find a label established and on Beatport. When you find one, you got to kind of snatch them up. Beatport is self-regulating, so like if you aren't making sales and doing well, they chuck you. You know what I mean?
They absolutely
so
do.
It's a good gauge for your label as well, too.
What are some good ways? What are some good ways, Chris, that the fans can reach out to you and want to ask you a question about just upcoming events in association with the local?
Hit me on Facebook, any of the socials, Civil X Music. I'm everywhere. Facebook is definitely the best. You can actually add my main account. It'll say my name and have Civil X in there, or my fan account, what have you.
Well, one thing that cool. Well, one thing that I definitely want to do in the future is get a couple of these local EDM DJs to come up here on my show and play some music. So we'll have to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to talk to you offline, off grid, and we'll have to get you back on. So it was really a great opportunity.
Man, I can funnel you a dozen kids a week for the rest of your life, man. Just let me know.
We'll do, Christopher. It was great to have you on the big show today, and we'll look forward to having you on again here in the near future.
Hey, thank you again so much for your time. It has been a true pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Christopher Riley from Studio 110. We appreciate everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Civil X Music. Woohoo!
Take care. Who do we got here on the line with me?
This is Jeff Lombardo.
Jeff Lombardo. How's it going, buddy?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Good. Are you? I see on my screen here in my studio. I see it's a New York number.
Yes, it is.
Are you? Where are you calling me from?
I'm actually calling from Seattle.
Are you calling from Seattle?
I am a New Yorker. I moved out of New York a while ago, but I've always kept my New York number. It's the last thing that I got. That's my last tie to that, other than family that I got. That's about it.
There you go. I'm from New York as well, so we have something in common. I was born there, but moved out to Seattle a number of years ago, and family's out there, and it's a great place to come out and visit and hang out.
Absolutely.
So you and I could talk probably for hours about New York and East Coast and what's going on the East Coast versus what needs to happen more on the West Coast, and proper translations and everything going on with the music business and fashion. But definitely wanted to have you on the air today. My producer has told me a lot of things about you. You've definitely accomplished quite a few things under your belt. And welcome to the show, man, here at Studio 110.live.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you've visited 28 countries, 5 continents, and 47 states 5 times.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it's been a journey. I mean, it started out when I was 17. It's taken me a while to do everything that I have. Although, like in the past few years, I probably did up a little bit more than usual, and just No, it took me a while. I did like 30. What did I do? I did 37 countries in 3 months when I first started, and then after that, it was pretty much just I never stopped after that. I mean, I had a friend who just put me on to something that he was doing, and once I did that, it really never looked back, and been doing it ever since. So I've just been accumulating countries and states and continents ever since.
So I got to ask you, after being in 28 countries, 5 continents, and 47 states 5 times, where's your favorite place?
To be honest with you, probably Vancouver, British Columbia, which is why I moved to Seattle. Can't really live in Vancouver full time, so I just basically live in Seattle now, and I just go back and forth. But other than that, I would say New Zealand is my second. Iceland, Dubai, and Italy are my 3, 4, and 5.
So you just mentioned Dubai. Is it true? I have not had the opportunity to go to Dubai yet, but is it true that the cops in Dubai drive Lamborghinis?
Yes, they do. Yeah, there's a lot of extreme stuff out there, but I mean that part is true. I don't think that the stereotypes that a lot of people put on things out there are true, especially about the people. I think that seeing stuff on the news and the media and the internet itself is drastically different than being on the ground there. So I just want to say that for the people out there that they're definitely not what they appear to be within American media.
Well, that's just probably one incentive out there to probably wanting to be a cop, to have the opportunity to drive a Lamborghini for your whole shift, and good luck for the people out there that don't believe in pulling over. You're not going to get too far if the cop is in a Lambo, right?
Yeah, no, they also have like electric meters like underground, like they're built into the ground. So like even if the cops aren't around, I mean, they'll get a ticket in the mail whether they see you or not. So yeah. I mean, it's a very high tech city.
Yeah, it's Dubai. So you've also had the opportunity to be a well known photographer, and you've been in association with the top 10 EDM DJs in the world, also on 5 different continents, and you've won an award for Urban Photographer of the Year with the photo of Carl Cox at EDC in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that was actually the first time I was ever on stage. Well, actually, the second time I was ever on stage. I shot. It all started when I went on tour with Neo, and I was in New York after that, and I saw EDC was coming to town, and I was never actually even a fan of EDM music. If I was actually in a club or anywhere, I would leave. I just hated the music.
I was the same way, man. I was the exact same way.
I just wasn't into it at all, like 0%. And I worked EDC just to do something different and, just get some different photography under my belt and build a portfolio. And then when I went to EDC in New York, I just saw like the energy and just like how much love there was. And it just completely I don't know, I did like a 180. I remember that all the DJs there, they had all their live sets on SoundCloud. And that night I went back and I remember re-listening to the sets that were there. And then I remember, and, I basically just started getting into it that way. And then I ended up doing EDC New York, and I did EDC Vegas, and I did London, and I took the EDC stuff that I did, and I pitched it to Stereosonic in Australia, and then I went to Tomorrowland in Brazil. So it's all like, piggybacking one thing after another. It was just like one thing led to the next, to the next, to the next. Obviously not by itself. You do have to put in a little work and make those relationships and opportunities happen. No one just comes knocking on your door, at least not for me, it didn't. So, all those things, though, I mean, the story behind the Carl Cox image, that was just purely random. I was just walking around the grounds at the festival, and I got an email from the publicist saying that he's going to be on stage if I have any interest in coming to shoot him. And I literally was on stage for 5 minutes, and I just held up my camera and fired off a few shots, and then I saw there was a contest going on, and they were looking for certain things, and I submitted them, and I ended up winning, and that was it. That was really not that long. I think maybe 3, 4 months after I got into photography.
That's huge, man. Just being in the right place at the right time, and just that's what people don't realize and believe, especially in the music business. And one of my special guests on yesterday's show was Steve Lobel. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's a
he's out in California. I know he hangs out with Scott Storch. I know about him.
Yeah, Steve Lobel has been a very close friend for the last 20 years, and we had a really good conversation yesterday in terms of people like to associate themselves and say it's the music industry, it's the music business, and the reason it's the business over the industry are for the people that really want to be able to bring ultimately the gaps together and create these special occasions and these special moments, just like like you've done for yourself, man. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. And I guarantee you that morning that you woke up, you didn't expect to be on that platform, and look what that platform created for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, everything just, like started unfolding like one after another. I mean, I'm pretty determined. I'm pretty like I'm just pretty relentless on what I want to do, and I'm pretty stubborn in doing anything else. And I'm willing to pay the consequences and deal with the consequences of not doing or basically saying if I have something in mind that I want to do, I really just won't do anything else but that, and I'll deal with the consequences along the way. But being stubborn and waking up every day and trying to do what I want to do every day has eventually led me to everywhere that I want to be, and that's just like the mindset that I have. Like I refuse to do anything I don't want to do, and I paid the price for it. Like I said, I deal with the consequences, but ultimately waking up every day and just staying focused on what I want to do has led me to where I want to be. And as far as the music business goes, it may seem huge from the outside, but it's very small once
It
you're
is
on the inside.
extremely small.
And it's a very it's a very relationship driven business. And even back then, like I was what was it? I would even say I would almost say like 15 years ago. Whenever Missy Elliott did the Road to Stardom
Yep.
on UPN, Steve Lobel was in the he's in the background, making his rounds and doing things. And I remember meeting him then, and it's funny because I really never had like no personal interaction where like I did business with Steve Lobel. But the interesting part is that that was 15 years ago, and then to hear his name today, and I do have some relation to we were in the same place at the same time once before. But it's like now fast forward, I'm in Seattle and I hear his name on the phone, so it is very small.
It's very small, and I had the opportunity to represent Def Jam Records for 2 years out of school, being Russell's guy out here on the West Coast, and then being at radio for 19 years of my life. It really taught me how to really formulate the proper relationships from an early age. And
Yeah.
you just don't burn bridges, and you'll never know down the road when you'll need someone or when someone will need you. And like you said, it's a small business. We all know each other. I don't care what level of the business that you represent. We all do know each other at the end of the day, from the Steve Lobels to the Nasty Nesses to the Izzy Sanchez to all the record heads. I mean, it's not that big of a business, and you see that. You see that like at the big trade show events and the parties and stuff, where the labels will be out there in representation, and it's not that big. So
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you started Def Jam. When I was younger, how I even got into what I did was, when I was young, I grew up in the '80s. I grew up in like the John Gotti Italian era in Brooklyn, so it was a whole different vibe back then. And my mom just wanted to figure out ways to keep me inside the house instead of outside the house because she didn't want to get me in trouble. So she had a friend who suggested she get a computer for the house. So me being 13 at the time, this is like '93, '94. I just became infatuated with the internet, and I was online since then. And this is like America Online 2.5. And after I was just doing things online, I got into Photoshop, and I'm just messing around. I wasn't doing anything like for work or nothing. I'm still young, but I stuck with it, and over time, one of my mom's best friend's husbands said, why don't you get into the music industry? Why don't you like take this and do something with music? And I really couldn't connect the dots. I was too young. I was like, what could I even do with this? He's like, you could be designing the album covers or the posters and all this stuff for all these artists. And next thing you know, he connected me with his brother who worked at a company who had the Def Jam account. And from there, I started doing like the radio hit singles for like the first one I ever did was the Excuse Me Miss for Jay-Z.
yep.
And once I started doing these album covers for like the radio singles, it was like Jay-Z, Mariah Carey, Cisco, 112, all like DMX. This is all like the '90s era. But once I did that, and I had those names under my belt, by this time I'm like 16, and from there, it's just like people just saw that I did work for them, and it was like, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And I've always used that since I was 16 years old, where I used that same mentality. And I just started doing more and more and more things. And then eventually, when I went out to LA, I took that and I started working at NBC, MGM, Disney, Fox, Universal, and I started doing movie posters. And then eventually I started freelancing and just doing my own thing, and I started traveling and just working online. And then from there, when I was traveling, I was just taking pictures of cool places that I was. I never had any intention to be a photographer, never wanted to be a photographer. I just wanted to take pictures of cool stuff that I saw. And then from there, I wanted to take better pictures, and I would just look up places that had cool landmarks. And I saw the pictures that were on Google Images, and I was just blown away by the stuff that was out there. And I was like, I want to take those kind of photos. So then eventually I had to learn photography and get a camera in order to take the photos that I saw, and that's basically what I did. And it was just one thing led to the next to the next to the next. I really just stayed in the lane. I think graphic design, art director, photographer, all that stuff is in the same creative lane.
Yep.
It's not like I went from just the internet to selling flowers or something like that. It's all stayed in the same lane. So that's just basically how I got where I am now.
That's so cool, man. Your story is just really super powerful and just super creative, and you've opened up so many new doors and created so many new inner pathways and made so many wonderful relationships like you and I both have. I mean, we definitely have a lot of similarities. I got to ask you, though, from being in 28 countries and 5 continents and 47 states 5 different times, there's got to be just like one picture that's always stood out. There's got to be one project or one picture that you'll never forget, that's always been just that thing that you'll go back and be able to talk about for the rest of your life? What would you say was that one occurrence that you had the opportunity to be behind?
Well, to be honest with you, like the answer that most people might think I'm going to say versus what my actual answer is might be a little bit different. But I knew my mom's dream was to go to Italy, and I wanted to surprise her by taking her to Italy for her 60th birthday. And that was in April of 2014 at the time that was coming. And she was diagnosed with cancer in November, December, and that was November, December. She found out she had lung cancer, and then in January she found out she had brain cancer. And by the time April came around, she wasn't able to fly. She still didn't have a passport, nothing like that, and I wasn't able to take her. But that when she passed away in September of that year, and for Christmas I actually flew out to Italy. And I went by myself, and I took one of my baby pictures of her holding me in the hand, and I went up to the roof, top of the Vatican, and I took a picture of her holding me, and that was my way of fulfilling taking her to Italy, like while she was still 60. And it was just interesting because like I'm holding my hand out, and I'm just like, you don't see me, you only see my hand holding the picture, but you see the whole Vatican and the basically all Italy in the background. But it was just interesting because like in the picture she's holding me, but in the picture I'm holding the picture. So like I'm the grown one now. So like it was almost like the tide switched or the role switched. And till that day, it's just I really don't even I don't even know too many people who I've even showed that picture to. It is my favorite picture, but it's kind of a personal picture for me. But other than that, I guess a more interesting picture that people may want to hear is probably any of the onstage pictures that I have of artists, because when you shoot from the pit or from the crowd, everyone seems to have that perspective. Whether if you're in the crowd as a fan, or even if you're lucky enough to get a press pass, you can shoot from the pit. But when you're actually on stage with like the all access artist pass, like it's just a different perspective that not many people see. And when you're in the crowd and everyone's screaming, they're screaming like at your back because you're in the front. But when you're actually on stage and you feel the energy of all those people screaming at you instead of towards you, it's a completely different energy,
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
seeing all those lighters lit up, or the iPhones, or whatever it is, like the whole view and feeling the energy and all that, it's kind of it's a little nerve wracking, but it's definitely that's probably the best part of shooting music for me, is just like being on stage and feeling all that energy, or like the pyrotechnics and all that. Like those are the best memories for me.
For sure. And that story you just talked about with your mom, and I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of your mom. It sounds like she was a wonderful person, Jeff, and may she rest in peace forever, and be in a good, happy place. It was one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard in my career, being on the air for over 20 years, and I can assure you of that. You just mentioned on the second kind of angle side of the story, just the opportunity to be on stage, and I completely agree, man. I had a lot to do with our iconic Summer Jam shows that we had at my former radio station for many, many, many years, and there's a feeling that when you grab that microphone and you walk on that stage and there's 22,000 people out there, and you're talking to them and they're listening to every word that you say. It's just, there's really no other feeling like it. It's not even something that you can prepare for. You walk out there and you've got the confidence, and you're not nervous because there's no reason to be nervous, and you just get out there and you just rock it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that stands out to me though is that like I'm not in that lane to do that kind of stuff. Like I'm not a musician. I have no reason to be on stage whatsoever creating actual music. So to be around like the best to ever do it, like say if you're on stage with like Kendrick Lamar or these EDM DJs, and you're in their space, like they invited you on stage to stand where they stand and capture them in that moment. And if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be there at all. And sometimes you are the only photographer permitted to shoot these certain shows, and they lock down the stage and everything. So to be on a stage that I really have no business being on, other than the fact that the only thing that's getting me there is that I have a camera, and I mean that's cool to me because I mean you don't really when you grow up you don't really think that photographers are on stage or anything like that. You just see like artists in their element, and you have no idea what that feels like, but you could try to imagine it. But then actually to be on the stage because someone gifted you this pass or access to be there, and then they allow you to do what you do because they want you there. It's a completely different experience, and I can't really explain it to anyone. But what I did start doing though is because since I shoot photos, there were, like a lot of times where I wish I had the video. So what I started doing was started putting a GoPro camera in my little hot shoe on top of my camera, and I shoot video every time I take photos. And now there's like a video for every photo that I've ever taken. So even though I'm not there to shoot video, I still have the video like reference to what happened. So now there's like when you're shooting photos on stage, like you don't hear the music, you don't see the movement, you don't hear the crowd. But now that I have that GoPro on my hot shoe and I take video of everything I shoot, I mean, I have like just that memory that lasts forever. Sometimes it's more impactful than the photo, and I think again that's where the internet's going. Photos are just like a thing of the past. I think it's all going to be video. I've been saying that for a few years. So just to have that, I mean, you don't really stare at a photo for 2 or 3 minutes, but you could definitely watch a video for 5 minutes, 10 minutes over and over again. So the videos live on. That's the cool takeaway for me from being on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been telling. It's interesting you say that because it just continues to back up my reference point that I'm always telling, local artists and just people here in the local community here in Seattle where I'm based. I mean, there's one thing about posting pictures, but then you just got to be in that 25 to 30 second video business because you can feel the vibes, you can see people's their meaning behind the defined element that they're speaking about in that conversation, whether they're promoting their current single or their upcoming show or their appearance or whatever it is in general. I mean, videos are the way to ultimately track success today. And I'm just all about it, man. I do it every day, and I've been doing it for years. And I'm glad to see people doing more of them now because, the pictures are always going to be important, but there's a big difference between, proper video placement and proper pictures, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think when people say photos, say 1,000 words, I believe that the photos say 1,000 words to the person looking at it perspective. I think video gives you an opportunity to tell your perspective and eliminate their perspective, where it's like it's pretty much targeted. Like even on Instagram these days, like so many people just like front on what they're doing and all this stuff, and it's like something like in the frame may look great, but behind them it's something completely different because it's just staged for that. But in the video, it's like you get to tell your story. It's not really someone else's interpretation. It's pretty much like you got to have a targeted message and get that across. And you get it across more powerfully between audio and visuals and just like movement. And, it just tells a different story. I mean, obviously it's a completely different craft, and, not all photographers are great videographers and vice versa. But, I mean, I respect all mediums. And, I mean, with the way the internet's going, I just think that, video is definitely a more powerful tool in the end.
What current projects are you currently working on right now, Jeff?
To be honest with you, like I'm what is it? I know Kendrick and TDE, they have a tour coming up here. They're starting off in Vancouver. I think May 5th, May 6th, they're gonna be in Seattle. I'll probably do that as like as a side thing. Other than that, I'm continuously traveling. I'm probably gonna head out in probably another 2 weeks. And just get back. I mean, photography to me is, although it looks like may look like something online, I don't really focus on it as a career. I focus on it as a hobby. I think the reason why I do that is photography ultimately is not the best industry or path to go for if you want to make money. I think it's great. It opens doors. It networks. It allows access, and it creates other ways to make money once you're in the door if you have like a wide skill set, which again, I come from a whole art director background, so I look at photography as a way to open doors for me, but I don't look at it as a sense of, to support the kind of lifestyle I live or I want to live. So, when I do things, like I would travel first and I would shoot second. I don't necessarily go to shoot first and travel second. Traveling is my number one thing. Shooting is my number two, but I also don't travel without a camera. So I'm constantly traveling, constantly moving around, and I work online, so I just take my work with me, and wherever I am, I do the same things. But once I'm in these places, I create content, and then I just, put the content in different places to monetize it. So I don't really focus on working with clients anymore or customers. It's just, I feel like if I have a camera and the internet, it's basically up to me to just create money out of thin air, and I don't need to really rely on people, clients, customers to network, negotiate, pitch, and constantly just that hamster wheel of stress of like just evolving like in business and constantly growing. So I just feel like if it's just me, myself and I with like the tools that I need, I can always create and always monetize and just consistently do it that way. So I'm just a very location independent person, and I really don't like having ties to any given place. And even though I'm in Seattle, I really don't have a purpose of being here. I just chose this as my base to be location independent, if that makes sense. And I just really enjoy the city, and I've only been here for 3 months, so I'm constantly exploring Seattle and looking for people to work with and having fun, and still going up to Canada. And when music artists comes to town, I try to get in that. I'm looking forward to Pearl Jam coming here in August, and just trying to shoot the biggest shows in town that I can while I'm here and see what happens.
There you go. And I'm sure you've racked up enough free miles with your airline of choice since you've been in 28 countries, 5 continents, and 47 states 5 different times. I'm sure when you board the airplanes, next time you fly out of SeaTac or whatever airport you're flying out of, they automatically put you up in first class.
Yeah, I mean, I flew over 1 million miles already. I mean, I stopped keeping count of the miles, but I mean, even my website, like I haven't updated my website in a while. I've been to over 30 by now, but I mean, there's only like a few places that I really have left. There's a few places left that I feel like I'll see eventually. When I get there, I get there. I don't really have that many places that are, like just overwhelming in my head. Like I need to go here, I need to go here, but there are a lot of nice places out there, and believe it or not, like even though all the places I've been to, this is primarily like my favorite place in, I would say in America right now, and I'm pretty much tucked away up here in the corner. So anywhere I want to go other than here, if I ever want to move, it's a pretty long journey, and I mean I'm pretty confident up here and like what you guys have to offer, specifically the scenery and the energy and just the people. And I just had to get out of LA. I'm not really into that whole industry thing. I like to do the work, but I don't like to deal with the industry, So
right, exactly.
If I could do that while I'm up here, I mean, it's just the best of both worlds for me. I mean, you could remove the stress and still do the same work and just live a lot happier. I'm chasing quality of life right now. I'm really not chasing anything else.
Well, we have each other's phone numbers, my guys, so we should definitely make a time to meet up, and it'd be good to, I always like to try to meet my guests face-to-face when I can, so whether it's at our headquarters here, where we broadcast the big show from Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 Pacific Standard Time, Studio 110.live, or I'm a Seattle-based guy, so we'll talk offline, off-grid, and try to make a time to meet up face-to-face. I'm sure it could be beneficial for everybody, and be good to be able to match the face to have had the pleasure to having on the air here for the last half hour today.
No, I appreciate it. I would love to build with you. So, I mean, anytime. I mean, I'm free, I'm flexible, and like I said, I'm always available. So whatever you want to get out of it, let's do it. I'm always available. Cool.
Well, it's been a great opportunity and a pleasure to have Jeff Lombardo on the line with me. Saying a photographer is saying that too lightly, in my opinion. You've been featured. You're been featured in Rolling Stone and Maxim, Spin, Billboard, Mass Appeal, MTV, USA Today, Yahoo, and a variety, to name a few. So it was a pleasure to have Jeff Lombardo. I think we lost connection with Jeff, but once again, I want to thank Jeff Lombardo for calling in, and it'll be great to have him in the studio. Just someone that's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of wonderful ties. We definitely have a lot of similarities. We both worked for Def Jam to a degree. I was more on the record side of the business. He was more on the photography side of the business, working with a lot of previous Def Jam artists like Jay-Z and 112, and the catalog goes on. So, Jeff, thank you again for calling in to the big program today. It's a busy show. I know my next in-studio guest is already in the studio. And before we get to him, I want to talk about this exciting show coming up that we're part of here at Studio 110.live. It's called the Icons of Comedy. Well, it's called really the Laugh Your Ass Off with Icons of Comedy, in my opinion, because you will be laughing your freaking ass off. Hosted by my guy D. Ray Davis. We got Bill Bellamy, Melanie Camacho, Dion Cole, Ada Rodriguez, Marlon Waynes, It'll be a great show. Tickets are on sale right now at Excesso Shower Center box office. You can also go to www.tickets.excessoshowercenter.com. Hit them up, 253-856-6777. And then I've been saying this, and of course presented by CMP Entertainment. My guys, Cristiano and Pierre, working so hard here with us here at the team to get this comedy show off the ground and get it sold out. Tickets are selling well. I mean, they're going. You're not going to want to miss this comedy show. There's not a lot of shows in general, but talk about A-list comedy shows. Well, you got, 6 primetime A-list comedians. Once again, my guy Marlon Wayans, Melanie Camacho, Bill Bellamy, D. Ray Davis, Dion Cole, Ada Rodriguez. It's going down. June 30th, doors open 7:30. Doors open 7. Show starts 7:30. CMP Entertainment. Let's go. Let's get that show here sooner than later. Let's get it sold out here in the next couple of weeks. Super excited to get on the air and say, you know what? Like I've always been saying for Summer Jam, tickets are sold out. You got to get them. All right. My next guest here is Kyle Ventler. I know Kyle's been on the air with me before. I want to find Kyle. I think I got Kyle's show prep, my bullet points, my flight plan right here for my guy. It's good to have you. What mic are you on here? You're on. I think you're on 3. Yes, you're. I got a lot of microphones here in my studio, so I got to keep track. But welcome back to the show, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. My name's Chris.
I was told I'm showing 2 o'clock here. Kyle Ventler. Oh, Chris. Okay. I don't know where we screwed up here, but it's 2 o'clock here, and I've already had. He's my 3rd guest, so according to my timeline here, it should be Kyle. Because isn't it 2 o'clock right now? Yeah. It is 2 o'clock. So okay. So I guess we're this is I've got it's a busy show. So
it is.
I got someone calling me here on the line. So before I get to you, let me put this thing up here. All right, who do I have here on the line? Is this Kyle?
This is Kyle. Yes, it is.
Kyle, thanks for calling in. So you came in early then. He came in earlier. I'm not sure what he's doing, but right now the focus of attention right now is Chris Peterson, and I'm told that Jeff Lombardo Jeff Lombardo was just actually on the air with me. So welcome to the show, Kyle. I appreciate you being on the air here.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
So I appreciate that. It's I want to make sure I got all my facts straight here. I'm talking to Kyle. Okay, good. Okay, got everything straight now because I got to make sure I got my appropriate flight plan in front of me. So I got Kyle Ventler here from good old Northwest Drone Works, correct?
Correct.
And when we talk about drones, actually a funny but unfortunate story that since you're into obviously drones. One of our guys that we know was up here. I think it was last week, and he had like one of those $1,500 drones, and he had it going from our top floor of our balcony from our headquarters here at Studio 110.live, and I was seeing it do its thing. It was doing full circumferences around the building, and all of a sudden I walk outside. It's not funny, but I walk outside and I say, "Hey man, where's the drone?" And he says, well, the drone could be anywhere. The drone could be on a car. The drone could be on a tree. The drone could be on frickin' Mount Rainier. It could be on a random stop sign in, Medina near Bill Gates' house. So if anybody finds this random drone, hit me up, man. Hit up Dirty Harry. Hit me up on social media. I don't like to give out my personal phone number. That would not be a smart move, but just hit me up, man, and let me put a smile on this poor kid's face because he's a young kid, and $1,500. That's for some people that's a lot of freaking money, and I wouldn't want
that's quite a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't want some random kid out there enjoying the pleasure of having someone else's drone that is doing good services for people out here in the Northwest. So
The cool thing is that about him losing his drone is that if he had it registered and everything and someone finds it, there should be a registration number on there, so they should be able to return it to the proper owner once it's found. If the registration number is on there, they would be able to go to the FAA website and type in the registration number or contact the FAA personally, and they would be able to tell them who the drone belongs to, etc., and return it to the proper owner. It's been done before, and I'm sure hopefully it can happen for this guy.
Well, hopefully, someone will be honest out there. And, I was, look, I was at a going away party on Sunday night for a previous guest on this show, Gianni. He represents a business called Clubbing 101. And, I saw $50 on the ground, and most people would pocket that real quickly. I mean, that, $50 is a nice dinner, take a date out, do whatever you're going to do, a little shopping spree. But I went up to him and I said, was that $50 yours? And he said, yeah, man, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I picked up the $50 off the floor and I gave it to him. And I just, I went home and I just had a glowing smile on my face. Not a cocky smile, but a glowing smile. I was very happy that I could return the $50 and do a good service. Like most people would just freaking pocket that, get in the elevator and run to their cars. But I picked it up and I wanted to give it back to him. So I'm glad that I did. So hopefully, going back to this good old lonely drone out there, we should probably give the drone a name. So let's call it the Dirty Harry drone. The Dirty Harry drone needs to be returned in a fast manner, and we'll have a happy return home party for this drone. Let's we'll get some DJs up here, get it catered, and we'll put the drone in the center of the dance floor here at our headquarters, and it'll be a welcome home drone party. And I want you to be here too, Kyle, for that. So hopefully we'll be able to have that party up here. Yeah. You probably, in all the years that you've been around drones, you've never been to a welcome home drone party, correct?
I have not, sir. That's correct.
There you go.
That would be a first for me.
So it's a pleasure here to have Kyle Ventler on the phone here, and just kind of let me know and let the listening audience know a little bit more about you. I know your specialty is kind of the overall entertainment and the fun side of flying and association with drones and aeronautics, and you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I've been flying drones ever since 2013. I picked up my first drone, little white, thing you could crash a million times and still fly. So I learned on that deal, and ever since I was little, hung around airports and dreamt about flying. It was my dream to fly, whether it be manned aircraft or unmanned aircraft at the time. I didn't know unmanned aircraft existed, but as it became more prevalent and commercialized in August 2016. I jumped on board. It was a dream come true. I went 2 feet in, just jumped straight in and started going at it. I worked 9 to 5 for about little over 2 years at a company. Worked 9 to 5, came home, worked right after I got home, all the way up until 2, 3 in the morning. Subconsequently, I ended up being late for work a couple times a few times in the morning because I would stay up so late just getting work done, trying to start this business because it was a dream. It was something that I wanted to pursue, and I wanted to pursue for my whole life. And it was finally coming true. And I finally had a reason and an out and a way to get there. And drones being commercialized just provided me that avenue to do that.
And, when people think about drones, they just think about just kind of the fun side of drones by flying them over big concerts or flying them over scenic, mountains or lakes or rivers or, national parks or, you see them a lot, in car commercials today to get, the aerial footage for some of these new fun vehicles that are coming out on multiple platforms here, not only in the country, but internationally as well. But something that people don't realize is they're also used a lot for search and rescue.
Yes, I actually do search and rescue missions currently. I collaborate with a company based out of New York, and it's not your average search and rescue yet, but it's for animal search and rescue. So people pay a lot of money to have their pets found. Say, they have a pet run away. They have guys on the ground. They have drones in the air. They have dogs on the ground sniffing out where their pets may be, leads coming in left and right where they may or may not be, and then they call me, and I go up and search quadrants, and sorry about that, getting a little loud.
That's right.
I go up and search quadrants in the air, and I send that video feed back to the company based out of New York, and they check it out. We go to the next quadrant, check it out, and hopefully we find the animal. I'm trying to get more into human search and rescue because it's definitely something that's in need, especially over here in the PNW with hikers getting lost in the mountains.
Sure.
So definitely something that has a big use for drones.
Well, I don't own a pet, nor will I ever own a pet. But let's say I just had a bald eagle as a pet that I just really cherished, and I let out one time, and the bald eagle just ultimately flew away. If I wanted Kyle Ventler's hard work to be placed into full effect, to be able to get the hummingbird or the bald eagle or the missing black and white cat. Not to say what my personal opinions of the cats are, but with that being said, like what would be the cost that I would have to pay to be able to get the animal of my choice to return back to me if I actually did have an animal, which I never will. But I'd like to know just what the overall price would be.
It could vary between $150 an hour to voluntary. It can go either way. It depends on the company. I don't personally advertise that I do that, so I just collaborate through with a company that advertises that they do that. So
okay.
They're the ones that compensate for that scenario, and it adds up to be about $50 per hour with a 4-hour minimum. So not too bad. More so than your average, 9-to-5 job, of course. And
sure.
It's a lot more fun. You got to go out and fly, but you're also helping the community and helping someone that is, heartbroken because their animal is lost.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's one of those feel-good situations, like returning that $50 you were talking about.
Yeah. I try my best. How many different drones are there then currently, just on every level, in terms of the super professional ones to the introductory ones? How many drones are available?
Oh my gosh. I think I lost track a few months ago. They just started popping up like wildflowers. So, you've got different manufacturers. So each manufacturer, DJI probably being one of the biggest out there. That's what I fly anyway. DJI Inspire 2. They have prosumer and consumer drones. Their prosumer line probably consists of maybe I wouldn't be able to speak for them, but maybe 5 or 6. Quadcopters to octocopters with eight motors on there, the ability to carry 2 cameras, a heat thermal camera and a regular camera to go back and forth, and that's where that thermal camera will come into play for the search and rescue, which I'm shooting for, but that's a $10,000 camera, so getting there is a little hump to get over, but we'll get there eventually.
So that was my next question. So you're saying the most expensive drone right now that someone can actually buy is $10,000?
Oh no, there's much more than that. There are drones out there that are, 25, 30 grand, or maybe even more than that, depending on what kind of bells and whistles, so to speak, you get on there.
So when we talk about a drone for $1,500 to roughly 25 or 30 grand, are we talking about the amount of time it can stay up in the air, the overall power quality that it has, just the overall, characteristics and implements that is built into this drone? Or what do we when we're paying top notch versus low end? What do we technology, camera, motor, multiple motors? What do we really? What's our hard work and our money really going into?
It's going, in my opinion, it's going into the technology. The technology that's within the drone. $1,500 drone, I'm guessing it's probably a Phantom Series DJI, something along those lines, because it's, for one of the more popular ones. You get obstacle avoidance, a nice 20 megapixel camera, the ability to shoot in 1080 all the way up to 4K. So not only does your average person get to go and be a filmmaker if they put in the hard work, but they also have all these capabilities within their drone as far as automated flight processes to help them get those cinematic shots that they want. And the motion tracking in the camera that's built in. You don't even see that on our cell phones right now. You can't motion track someone, highlight someone on your screen, and the phone follow it, the object, whatever's highlighted. But in the drone, you can do that. It runs these sophisticated algorithms that track an object and constantly builds and render these digital 3D objects, if you will, to follow. And that's the kind of stuff you're getting. And when you go to the little cheaper drones, you might not get the higher capabilities, maybe 4K, or the automated processes, or the obstacle avoidance. The obstacle avoidance is something that people like to dig into because, well, let's be real, people crash. So it really helps mitigate that risk of crashing and help people have fun in a safe flight.
There you go. If you're just tuning into the big show right now, I've got Kyle Ventler here from Northwest Drone Works for Tech Tuesdays. It's definitely a technology interesting segment to have you on, talking about drones and the different capabilities that they offer, whether you want to be on the introductory phase at about $1,500 all the way up to about $30,000. With technology moving so rapidly, especially out here in the Northwest, we're just surrounded by different tech companies, and we see everything going on just on the cell phone game with new battery life, new camera life, new processors, just new technology. What do you think is the next step in your professional opinion, Kyle, for the up and coming releases of the new upcoming drones?
Oh boy, that's a tough one, because they've raised the bar pretty high as far as the capabilities of drones. Like I said, if you're willing to spend that big dollars to get the drone, I mean, you're going to get everything you really need and more. And the most I could really come up with and say is that everything would be autonomous. I mean, you would basically have to do nothing manually anymore, because it's all run by GPS and satellite. So, and they already have that out. So, really, it's the inventor's world right there. So, and it's all going to be up to them. I really couldn't speak on that, to be honest. There's lots out there currently as we speak, and it's growing so fast. I mean, just by 2025, it's expected to be a $82 billion industry, or something along those lines. And by 2021, about $21 billion in sales. So that's quite a substantial number, considering they just commercialized it in August 2016, and already in 2021 it's going to be multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, that's big. That's definitely big. So out of all the opportunities that you've had to have the exposure and the overall fun to be able to operate different drones for you on a personal level, on a professional level, on helping people out, putting smiles on people's faces, what would you say has been a couple experiences that you'll never forget, that you've had the opportunity to fly them? And there's got to be some good happy ending stories with whatever you've done. Maybe not even happy ending stories, just fun opportunities that you've been asked to take part of, Kyle, operating your different drones.
Well, one story specifically kind of stands out because it involves seagulls. And seagulls definitely do not like drones. Word of advice to everyone out there. Just recently got chased by crows, which is more unusual, but seagulls for sure. So one day I was out in Seattle. We were doing a film for a few different companies, a collaboration effort on a boat. And I go and take off a hand launch off a boat and get it up in the air, get all my settings set up, and we're right off the pier in Seattle. And a seagull start dive bombing me. They start, someone's like, "Hey, watch out, the seagulls are coming." And so I flip it into sport mode, which is, the faster mode that my drone has to offer. I can hit up to 65, 70 miles per hour. And so I start outrunning these seagulls like a scene out of Top Gun. So as I'm outrunning these seagulls, I'm dodging and weaving and flying all over the place, trying to get away from these guys because they're trying to attack it. And we finally got someone to grab the drone out of the air. We had to do a hand launch and hand land and got it safely back on the boat. And, that was a sigh of relief right there. But it was also quite the experience, not having been chased by seagulls before. So that was a happy ending.
Yes,
sure.
Definitely was a good story. For sure.
Not having to fish it out of the water.
Yeah, that would not have been a fun day to have to do that. So I've got an in-studio guest here that also that flies drones and has experience with drones. And did you have a specific question that you wanted to ask my special guest right now, Kyle Ventler? If you do, please go ahead. And this is Chris here in the studio here with us, Kyle.
Hey, how's it going, Kyle? So I just started my drone venture around probably last year. I was able to pick up a drone. Traveled the world last year, went to like Africa, Philippines, Hawaii, Canada, all over California. And I pretty much started a drone page recently called Nice Drone Shots. And I'm just trying to figure out, what would your advice be on creating it into more of a business for drones, knowing that there is a bunch of legal things? Like, is there a certain website, or do you just think, just like study it up?
So are you talking about flying commercially and getting paid for it, but you're not yet commercially licensed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the first step would be is I could definitely provide. I took my course through a place called the UAV Coach. They're super awesome. Look them up online. They provide all the video content. It's all video content with the lectures written out, questions, tests to take, and they get you totally ready for the Part 107 test. I mean, I studied. This is how easy it was. I studied while I was driving through my other job. I mean, I had my iPad sitting next to me in the car and my headphones in, listening to this guy talk and talk about the rules and regulations that the FAA set forth through Part 107. And then, a few weeks later, went and took my test and passed the first time. I mean, these guys are great. I would first suggest getting your license, a Part 107 license. You can go and take it at any airport that offers testing. And my second thing would be to get your business set up. Go through the Secretary of State, get your name set up, get your license, your tax ID, all that good stuff to start a business, and then build a website, start advertising, and reach out to as many people as you can in the industry currently, and start making friends with them and start collaborating and helping them out. But also at the same time, you're going to do some free work. People are, they want to see what you can do first sometimes. So go out and do something for someone for free, and then go out and do something else for someone for free. And then pretty soon, the next job that they want you to do will be paid, and they will talk about you, and then that person will talk about you. So it's a lot of affiliate marketing, the word of mouth stuff.
For sure.
And really just reaching out to as many people as you can. That's going to help you greatly because there's no better person that knows about the industry than the people that are already doing it. So
For sure. Thank you.
Did you have any other questions for Kyle?
I think that was basically it for more of the business side because I usually just fly for fun.
Sure.
I don't charge for it, but I've had a bunch of offers to fly me out places because they like my work, but legally I can't do that. So
yeah.
Well, people.
If you've already got the people asking about it, then hey, you've got yourself a business. Then all you have to do is license yourself and start a business so you can actually bring in that income and just reach out to those people and say, hey, I'm now commercially licensed to do work and fly drones for work, and I'd like to come out and show you what I can do or produce whatever you need. And most of the time people are more than happy to do that, and especially if they love your work, they'll have you come out and do that for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll get started on that.
Well, Kyle, I'm all about on this show aligning people up and helping people out and making the proper relationships. I thank you for speaking to my next in studio guest, Chris. I appreciate you speaking to him. I've never actually had the opportunity, Kyle, to fly a drone myself. So maybe one of these days we'll be able to make a time for you to come up here to our headquarters, and I can fly one of the more powerful ones and really feel it, man. I've taken many flying. I've done quite a number of flying lessons and flown a number of times, and so I get that side of it. But drones, I know, is a whole different world, and I'd love the opportunity to do that with you sometime.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime you want to come out, you want me to come out there, I'd love to show you the ropes and maybe even let you handle the camera. I have 2 controllers. You can do a lot with me. You can, control the camera, and I'll fly the drone, and I can even give you a little lesson on flying drones.
That would be really cool. And what's the furthest that one of yours can fly? How far can it go?
Well, legally, you're allowed to fly as far as you can see the drone. So within your visual line of sight, that's per the FAA guidelines.
Okay.
But technically speaking, on paper, the drone can go about 4.3 kilometers away. So quite a distance out there. You can go as high as 400 feet above ground level, or AGLs per the FAA. You can obviously go much higher than that. But the frequencies that are set forth on drones currently, there's usually 2.8 frequency or 5.8, which are both frequencies that don't really work too well through objects. So if you were to fly on the other side of a tree or a tree line, for instance, you'll start losing signal. And in order to get the clearance to fly and use frequencies that will allow you to pass through objects like that, you have to go through a special application process to get that done, and FAA approval and all the other stuff that goes with it. So so as far as it can go, your visual line of sight as of now per the law.
And I was told that there are definitely some prices to pay if you don't have permission. You fly it over like an active, Seahawks game or Husky game out here in the Northwest. Where you have multiple fans. If you fly it right over the stadium, I'm told that you can be in some pretty severe trouble. Correct?
Oh yeah, you get a pretty hefty fine and possibly even some time behind bars, depending on the severity of the flight. Flying negligently, or erotically, and stuff like that. So that'll come into play when you do that kind of stuff. So always be sure to check your airspace before you fly. There's plenty of applications out there that will tell you, right where you're standing from your cell phone. It'll say, hey, you're in Class D airspace. You're in controlled airspace. You need FAA authorization to fly here. And your drone will still usually let you take off, but it makes you check off, hey, I do have permission to fly. So, and it's not like there's police out there, FAA police, wandering the roads and the parks everywhere that come and stop you. But if everyone likes to post their media on the internet, and if you do post something and someone gets a hold of it, there are sharks out there who will pick people apart, and so just be careful about that would be my suggestion. And always check your airspace. And if you're in controlled airspace and if you don't have a waiver, then I would suggest not flying there and getting to a place where there is open airspace where you can fly.
And absolutely, because you do see some really cool drone images and video of drones going over like these big, Seahawks games and big events, concerts, and when you do like these, fun, compelling, teaser promo video, especially for my show here at Studio 110.live. I did have one of those, and we had obviously the people that produced the video for me had. Proper consent to be able to, fly their drones over these large scale events. And it really does I've seen a lot of different drone footage, but when you get like those big crowds, either at a concert or at a football game or whatever it is, it's really cool, man. It just speaks for its own lane for sure. So.
Oh yeah. When you get, especially, it's a good feeling when you get that clearance from the FAA and you're able to do something that everyone's not, and get that footage that everyone can't get on. It definitely helps you stand out a little bit more.
There you go. Well, man, I want to thank you again for calling into the show. Kyle Ventler from Northwest Drone Works. It'll be cool to get you up here to our headquarters at Studio 110.live and have the opportunity to fly one of your drones. And we'll get you in the studio for your next visit here in the next couple weeks or a few months, or whenever we have an opening. And all the best to you, man. Be safe out there with your drones, and appreciate all the hard work that you do, especially with you teaming up with that search and rescue mission on the East Coast. It's always cool to, be able to hear, all the different levels and attributes that people can provide good for one another, especially with drones. So I really do appreciate your time today.
Hey, thank you, Dirty Harry. I appreciate you having me on the show.
No problem. We'll talk again soon. Kyle Ventler here from Northwest Drone Works. Really cool segment for Tech Tuesdays because, hey, man, it's technology. Drones are technology, and it would just be I don't think he has one, but it would be cool to fly one of those $30,000 drones that he was talking about. Multiple motors, the absolute most amount of technology built into that bad boy, and it would be fun because that's not an opportunity you get every day of the week. So I'm sure he's got some fun toys that he can bring up here to our Studio 110.live's headquarters when he gets a chance, and when we all get a chance to be able to do that fun mission here. All right, another music news story that I want to talk about here before we transition into our next in-studio guest. Daz Dillinger in the crosshairs of cops after Crips' threat against Kanye. Yes, after Crips' threat against Kanye. Daz Dillinger is now on the radar of the LA County Sheriff's Department after his call to the Crips to pay a not-so-friendly visit to Kanye West. Yes, TMZ, our buddies at TMZ, called the Sheriff's Department to ask if Daz Dillinger's video was something they were looking at. And at the time, the Sheriff's Department was unaware that he had posted the threat to Kanye, but earlier, a Sheriff's Department source told detectives now they are looking quite heavily into the video to determine if there's actually a prosecutable crime. TMZ is told that the Sheriff's Department has also reached out to Kanye and his security team, but so far they have not heard back. Dillinger called on the Crips to say F blank you up Kanye. So it sounds like Daz and good old Kanye are not the best of friends, and probably not something that you want to get in the middle or have to deal with that, because that would not be a pretty situation to be in. I did talk about this early in the show today for everybody tuning in right now. I want to be able to address it again. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors, a lot of different reports coming in regarding Avicii, the late iconic DJ that changed a lot of people's lives in the EDM scene and just all over the platforms that he developed and put into play for himself in Vegas, all over the country, all over the world. He was only 28 years old. It has come out, I'm sorry to have to report this, but he did commit suicide with broken glass he used to cut himself. Multiple sources familiar with the circumstances surrounding the famous DJs tell TMZ he did indeed take his own life, something that his parents alluded to last week. Sources say the method of death was a shard glass that caused massive bleeding. Two sources tell Avicii's camp that ultimately reported to TMZ he broke a bottle and used the glass to inflict the fatal wound. One of the sources says it was a wine bottle. His family did release a statement earlier that included the clear message it was a suicide. They said he really struggled with the thoughts about meaning, life, happiness, and he cannot go on any longer. He wanted to find peace. So there's multiple ways that we can look at the story. I mean, I get that his fame happened extremely quickly, and that it was tough for him to process the amount of money that he made so rapidly. And that was about $88 million. To a lot of people, depending on how you look at the story, it's you can kind of break it up into different segments. You can say, if most people had 88 million, they'd be in a great place. They could have whatever they want and feel good about life. And then there's people that, like Avicii here, apparently, who just couldn't deal with it. So, and we've seen this before. We saw this with DJ AM. We see it now with Avicii. We've seen it with different rock stars and different artists and different celebrities where they just can't handle the pressure. And I just hope we don't have to continue to talk about these stories in the future, where these artists should really feel happy and have a smile on their face that they are touching so many people, from their music to their stage performance to their appearances to their endorsement opportunities to their speaking engagements. I mean, they're put on this platform to really serve a purpose, to put a smile on people's faces. This is entertainment. And, I'm sorry again that his family has to deal with this tragic event. They had to fly so many hours over there to take the body back to its home state to be able to be, in a proper resting place to the late Avicii. One other music news story that definitely is worth addressing today. The Game is saying, "Watch your back, Kanye. Daz ain't playing with Crip threat." Let's kind of dive into this story. The Game doesn't think Kanye West should be really taking Daz Dillinger's Crip threat lightly, because he says his brother from another color means business. TMZ got the blood-affiliated MC last night at the Ace of Diamonds and asked Daz, calling on the Crips to F up Kanye on site after kind of reprofessing his love for President Trump. Game takes somewhat of a joking tone, but also sounds serious. He says, "Watch out, Kanye." Eric Benet also seemed concerned for Kanye's safety in Calabasas after we're hearing that Daz Dillinger's message also landed on those doorsteps within Eric Benet's camp. So not a good time or place for Kanye, and hopefully he clears up these issues with people. And this should be no surprise to anybody, though. Really, this should be no surprise that Kanye is all about controversy. He's all about getting under people's skin and saying sometimes the wrong things. But in the past, it's worked for him on a publicity angle. But then there's also when you talk about publicity, there's the smart way of doing things, and then there's just the stupid way of doing things. So you just always got to be careful and make the proper statements, and have your management do their due diligence to ultimately put out the right messaging to be looking out for artists in general. I do have a piece of audio coming into the show right now from T.I. T.I. now has also addressed Kanye West's State of Mind, and we'll see if we can get a piece of audio here from T.I. here that I'd like to be able to share on the big show before we get here to our next in-studio guest here. Looks like we're having a little streaming issue with one of our computers here that we'll need to get fixed, but we'll be able to play this later in the show or tomorrow. We have audio from T.I. at Hot 97 in New York opening up about the Kanye meeting. He talks about, of course, Gucci Man and everything going on in his lane these days. So with that being said, let's get to our next in-studio guest. Welcome back to the show, Chris. It's good to have you back in. The timing was great. I know you're all about drones, and it was good to be able to have you on with Kyle to have you be able to ask that question. It was a good question that you asked on the air, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was awesome to ask it to someone who has experience. Yeah,
for sure. What's been new with you, man?
Just gonna be traveling next month or this month a lot, so I'll be gone probably a couple of weeks out of the month, so it's gonna be good. Can't really say where yet, just in case someone is listening.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully it actually is someone that could be helping you out, or someone that's on your team that's could be beneficial for this upcoming travel schedule for you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So can we talk about, I know we can't talk about where you're going, but can we talk about what you'll be doing?
Yeah, so actually I could talk about one of them. So one of them, I'm going to this place in Palm Springs, and I'm going to be attending a networking event for YouTubers. So it's like a VidCon, which is in Los Angeles, but it's called ClamorCon. It's in Palm Springs, and it's where they bring all creators together, like big influencers to smaller ones. It's like an invite only, and they just network and collab in whoever they are interested in, or whoever they want to work with or get to know. So it's going to be pretty big for my business and stuff.
Sure. And when is this happening?
This is happening May 8th till the 11th.
Okay. And this is in Palm Springs?
Yes.
And what do you hope to accomplish at this upcoming business journey?
I hope to accomplish a lot of knowledge, friendships, connections, be more self-aware of what I want to do with my business, of where I want to go. Good.
Well, speaking of drones and speaking of what you do so well, we've got the Icons of Comedy Jam coming up. The Laugh Your Ass Off with the Icons of Comedy Jam coming up. I always say Icons of Comedy, but it really is Laugh Your Ass Off, because you will be laughing your ass off at this big comedy show coming up. And speaking of drones, the reason I'm bringing this up in this particular part of the conversation is, there'll be about 8,000-9,000 people walking into the venue. So it might be cool to get you out there, to get a drone up there to be able to capture the footage of everybody walking into the venue. And it's always good to get long lines, for different levels of footage for, what we're doing here and what we're doing. But it's a really exciting opportunity that we've teamed up here with CMP Entertainment. My guys, Cristiano and Pierre, and of course, Studio110.live, and everybody here is a collective effort. It's going to be happening at the Accesso Shower Center down there in Kent. We got Melanie Camacho, Bill Bellamy, D. Ray Davis, Dion Cole, Ada Rodriguez, Marlon Waynes, my guy Bill Bellamy. So it's an A-list type of show, to say at the least. So it'll be a great show. Tickets are on sale right now. They are going quick, so you're definitely going to want to get them before they're sold out. You can call 253-856-6777 and get those tickets. And who doesn't want to go to a fun comedy show where you'll be able to get out there, have some fun, laugh your ass off? And we're not just bringing you one. We got how many do we got? We got like 6. We got 6 comedians on one stage. That's an event. That's not just a one-off. That's an event that's going into place. So super excited about that partnership. So I'm sure you've done a lot of different footage for these types of shows. So if you're interested in the opportunity, we'll get you out there. Moving past, last time you were in, we talked a lot about just social engagement.
Yep.
And how important tracking the proper social engagement into play, whether you're an up and coming business, whether you're a tech company, whether you're a radio show like myself, whatever you're in. And you talked about some interesting elements last time you were in about how vital and how important it is to be posting the correct videos into place.
Yes.
And let's touch on that.
Okay, so when you were talking to, I forget what his name was, but you're talking to him. He was a photographer, and he says, "Yeah, a picture says 1,000 words, but capturing video is more important." So video is the thing. Like pictures, like he was very specific on it, saying it's for certain people. Like not everyone likes going to a art show, but somebody will watch a video. I mean, I could post a picture. And I have 24,000 followers. I could post a picture and only like 300 people will like it, but I'll post a really good video that doesn't even relate to a whole bunch of people, and it'll get like 5,000 views. Yeah. So video, biggest thing right now.
Yeah, it is the biggest thing, and you still see people really focus on just putting up, the old school pictures, and pictures are good. I mean, pictures are good, but they don't. You don't feel it. You can't. You see the picture, but you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And with video, proper video placement into effect, you can feel it. You can feel the vibes. You can feel just the overall cycles of the conversation. The patterns that go into it. And that's what I'm about, man. I love shooting them. Have some really cool videos with Sir Mix-a-Lot and I and other celebs up on our show's IG page at studio110.live. You're definitely going to want to follow that. So in addition to this, you've got multiple projects, but you've got the one that you discussed in Palm Springs. What other projects right now are on the table for you?
I have a potential project, still waiting to hear back from the lady, but in San Francisco, a drone job.
Okay.
Just gotta wait to see on what her say is. I'm actually going in to take my test sometime next week.
Oh, great!
So I'll have all the certifications I need.
Good.
And licenses, so I don't get in trouble by the law. And so that's coming up really soon. It's for a hotel company. So hopefully it'll be some good experience or good moolah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the pre-preparations of taking the test to operate a drone. Well, what do you know about it? Do they give you a study package?
I think there is like some sort of a study guide, and I've seen a whole bunch. Like you could get them on like Amazon, you could get them on anywhere like online, and then you just go into the place and take your test. And if you get, I think it's like a C on the test, so I think you can miss. I think it's like a 70-something% to pass. So I don't know. I haven't taken the test before, so hopefully I could just study it up and take it quick.
Are you nervous about it, or?
No, I'm pretty confident because, like I said, I've been flying for over a year, and I've done enough studying throughout the year. And I think the only thing that I need to touch up on is just like more detailed, which I think would come as common sense too.
So you expecting to get an A+ on the drone test, or?
A minus maybe, but hopefully A+.
There you go. Because I've never taken a drone test, nor have I ever operated a drone, but I can maybe act as your drone tutor for a minute.
There we go.
So if the question comes up, are you allowed to fly the drone over? And this a lot of people may not know this, but are you allowed to fly a drone over a Seahawks game with 70,000 screaming fans? Mark the box that says no. So that's my tutorial help for you to prepare for this test coming up. So that's all I could be able to provide. I mean,
you can and you cannot. So you can't just randomly show up and fly it. But I think if you were to talk to Seahawks corporate and they want it, then you
got to get the proper. Randomly. You got to get the proper coordinates into effect. You just can't be parking your car in the parking lot and flying the drone over a 49ers game.
Exactly.
Just make it happen.
You could get away with it possibly, but I wouldn't say to do that.
Well, like my last guest on the show, Kyle, says that there are hefty fines, and you could be going to jail. I mean, you could be in the 8x10 cell for flying a drone over an active sports game or whatever it is, and it ain't worth it. It just ain't worth it.
It's not.
It ain't worth it. As much as we want to see Richard Sherman as close as we can wearing the red and gold 49ers jersey, we want to see his facial expression that. Q13 or any of the affiliates, when they're filming these active games, a drone could do that. But that's why, there's hefty punishments involved to do that.
Yeah.
What have you learned, would you say, what have you learned from the first time that you've flown a drone till now? what are some true core important characteristics of being a drone operator pilot that you can discuss?
Just being able to see things from a different view. I mean, you're so used to seeing ground view up. You're not used to seeing up view to the ground. So, when I went to Africa, it was great when I was like flying in from the plane, but it was really foggy, so you couldn't really see much. And then it was great when I was traveling inside this little dune buggy type thing across the deserts, or not desert, but just a giant dirt areas. But that was cool. But when I launched the drone up, you got to see more of the beauty of Africa and the more like the horizon. It was just so dope. So like what I've learned is just that there's always a different perspective, and sometimes it's a little bit better.
Have you had any close calls with how many drones do you have? One, or how many do you have?
I have one drone.
One drone.
Yeah.
Any close calls that you could talk about, or?
Yeah. My friend Benji Travis, he runs a lot. He does a lot of running, and I film him running, with the drone. So I'm always doing like a side profile, super close.
Yeah.
And I've almost hit him. I've hit a tree, and I've almost hit myself in the eyeball.
And what if you're hitting someone with a drone going full speed, how deep can the injury get ultimately?
It depends on what kind of if you have just the stock propellers on it, you could get a solid cut.
Okay.
Because it spins so fast and it's such a hard piece of plastic. And sometimes people get like the carbon fiber type ones, and that can cut even easier.
Wow.
So it's just like.
And you said you almost lost your left eye.
Yeah, I was flying it because I was looking at my screen, and he was running towards me, and I was just like bringing it back, and I didn't realize I was in the way of the drone, and all I hear is like and then I looked, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it literally was like maybe an inch from my face.
Wow, scary.
And I would have lost my eye. It would have popped.
Wow,
it was bad.
I'm glad you did it.
I did that 3 times that day. I don't know why I didn't learn the first time to just move or look up.
Well, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to lose your finger or lose an eye to be satisfied, to be able to tell yourself that you've accomplished something, or just let it go? Let it freaking go.
If I stick out and people see that I got an eye patch, they're gonna want to talk to me, and then they're gonna want drone business.
Yeah. But it's not just an easy thing to just be in some random field in Africa and lose your eye either. I mean,
Yeah, that would.
There's not a lot of eye doctors probably in Africa that could sew that bad boy into place. So
Especially the place that I was at. I was in the middle of nowhere.
So Chris, listen to Dirty Harry's advice from now on.
I will.
And let's just be smart like you are with these drones. And let's not do crazy maneuvers. And maybe you have something up your sleeve though. Maybe you need to invent the proper safety glasses or hard hat. Maybe you'll make billions if you do. Since I'm the one sharing this right now on the show, cut me a percentage.
I got you.
The paperwork is actually already being drafted up. They can hear me talking about it right now in the back office here. So, yeah, that's
I'm
the way.
Not surprised actually.
That's the way we. Yeah, you never know what's going on outside of the studio here. So, no surprise there. So maybe you need to look into that in terms of being a little bit more. You're a smart guy, but I would hate to have a call saying, hey, do you want you have a full show this afternoon, Dirty Harry, but Chris could come on and he's coming in to talk about a bad injury. Not that I would ever hope that would happen, but that would be good radio in the sense that you can remember this day, May 1st, that I warned you to be careful with your best friend called your drone. So,
yep, definitely.
Out of all the places that you've traveled, where have you enjoyed flying your sidekick the most?
I think I would have to say the Philippines.
And why the Philippines?
So it was just a powerful experience because, the Philippines, it's not known to be the richest place. Neither is Africa. But in the Philippines, when I flew there, like you go there and you see kids in like tents, you see people living under like trees, like that actually is a real thing. Like there'll be a giant building of this like $1 million plus house, and then there'll be like a little shack right next to it. So it was powerful because when I flew the drone, you could just see of how like rich and poor it was so close together, and like just a picture of it and just seeing it, it was just like, wow, like this is crazy. But I enjoyed it too because I was able to see and experience and want to make a difference with that, which I do put on an annual fundraiser for.
good.
which goes towards like people in need or kids.
Yeah. So we know about the different laws in effect here in the state of Washington when we broadcast the show, and we hear about obviously the laws in the country. What are the laws like in the Philippines and different countries that you've traveled to be able to operate a drone? A lot more strict or a little bit more lenient, or how would you define them?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Okay, all right. I put you on the spot there a little bit.
No,
huh?
it's okay though.
That's just one more thing for you to maybe that'll be a question on the test.
Exactly.
You never know. That might be a question on the test.
You are testing me, which is going to test myself.
Yeah. So now you can think of Dirty Harry as a drone tutorial expert on preparing for this exam. When are you taking this test?
I think I could take it sometime this week. I think.
Are you prepared? Are you ready? Is this causing lack of sleep at night in terms of being up at 3 a.m. reviewing show notes or what?
That's normal for me. I'm always up. I barely sleep, sadly, but
okay.
But it's not going to be.
So you're gonna eat a big continental breakfast, before you go to like an IHOP, Denny's, a random spot like that, and you get a good meal so you can ace this test.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Don't you want to be the first one to walk out of that classroom, just getting under everybody else's skin in the classroom, say like, "Hey, screw you guys! I know I aced it. I hope I see y'all in the drone, called it the drain.
Yeah.
The drone, runway or wherever a good place to fly these things all around. Huh? So
yeah.
What other advice would you give to someone interested in incorporating and getting more knowledgeable about the day-to-day operations of flying a drone? What would be kind of your flight plan into that whole business model?
If I just had to give advice, I think that's the question you're asking. If I just had to give advice to people who want to start flying a drone, is don't be that guy that ruins it for people who actually fly drones and make the rules even more strict. Because, like I said, I've been to places where you see a guy unbox his drone and fly into like a crowd of people because he didn't know how to go up or he didn't know how to
Well, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
And then it makes it harder for us to act. It's going to make more laws and make it even harder. So I guarantee like 100%, this is where you're going to hear it first, is in the next 5 years, flying a drone now compared to 5 years from now, it's not going to be as easy.
Well, like my last guest said, come 2020, he forecasted it to be an $84 billion business.
Yeah.
An $84 billion business. So you're just going to continue to see more and more, and just the technology. I mean, if they're look at the technology that they're continuing to build up on iPhones and Samsung. So we're gonna see that into proper drone placements. Are you interested in the future getting into like the search and rescue side of operating a drone, or that doesn't really interest you much?
So drones more of a hobby for me.
Okay.
Like I said, my main focus is like being a social media influencer, video. But then again, drone has to do with video, so that's where my interest is going to be. Right. So, but it's like more of a hobby, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Any shout outs you want to give to anybody today in the social media world, or anybody on your team, or anybody that you're going to see, or partners that you team up with to fly drones? Anybody you want to say hello to?
Ooh, I'll probably just, that's really, I probably should have thought about that.
That's all right.
I want to say hi to my future self.
Your future self.
My future self for doing it.
Do you ever hope to be able to own one of the $30,000 drones, or that you just don't need that much power?
I'm actually looking into it. There's this one drone called the Inspire 2. And it has all these, like, if you get all the top gadgets, it'll be about $12,000 to maybe $15,000.
Okay.
And if I were to take my business further, this guy that I work with, I'll keep his name silent, said that he would invest into it. And then
great.
If I take it seriously, though, I can't just have it as a hobby. I have to actually like use it for.
I think you should. I think you should, because I mean, like Kyle just said, it's an $85 billion industry. So I would think that with you being a social media influencer and on the photography side of that, I think it would be worthwhile your time to invest into that, because I think it could really enhance your overall photography in terms of what you put out there.
100%, I believe that.
So have you ever had the opportunity to see one of the $30,000 ones, or?
Yeah, a few times at the ClamorCons and VidCons that I go to. DJI actually goes there, and they bring their drones. Like, cool. You can't fly it, but they'll have it on display, or they'll put themselves in like a cage and they'll fly it around.
Great.
Yeah.
I've never had the opportunity to see one of those. I'm sure, I'm sure a lot of the car companies have those, and the NFL teams probably have them, and the people that really need to capture the best amount of footage on kind of a heightened appeal would probably own those. But,
Yeah.
it'd be cool to see one, and be cool to operate one too.
No, for sure. It's a lot of fun, and it's different. It's super easy because people usually think that it's like super hard, but if you play video games, then it's super easy. It's just as easy as that.
Yeah. And I've never seen footage, but can you imagine having one of the powerful ones fly over some of the pool parties down in Las Vegas? You get all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at the big iconic pool parties down at the different Vegas hotels. So that would be some really cool footage too.
That would be. Give me ideas now.
See, there you go. There you frickin'
I'll be in
go.
Las Vegas next week then.
Yep. Definitely cut me into the deal since I've given you all this good, fun advice on the show today. And,
Definitely.
And let them all know about the show as you continue all your travels. And it would be good to have you back. And be safe, man. I would hate, I know we were having fun with it earlier and joking around, but I would hate for any close calls.
Yeah, definitely.
But sometimes, if they're somewhat fun close calls, it's good radio to speak about.
Yep.
All right, a couple shout outs that I want to give. Thank you again to my guy Nasty Ness for flying up and surprising me for my big launch party this past Saturday. Thanks to CMP Entertainment, Cristiano and Pierre for doing so much to be able to make my party shine so bright with the alcohol and the food and everything that went into proper consideration for that big event. We got the Icons of Comedy. That's happening June 30th at 7 p.m. My guy Marlon Waynes, Bill Bellamy, Ada Rodriguez, Dion Cole, D. Ray Davis, Melanie Camacho. I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to get these tickets. You can get them at the Accesso Shower Center box office, www.tickets.accessoshowercenter.com. Hit them up 253-856-6777. Also want to thank, and I know he's listening, to my guy Steve Lobel, on with me yesterday. Looking forward to getting him and Scott Storch on the big show. Looking forward to hearing from Scott and him talking about all the future projects that he's working on. A legendary producer in the music business who's making a big comeback. Thanks to Steve Lobel and just all my guests that have been on this week and last week and the upcoming weeks. Great to be back on there. A great show. We're signing off a few minutes early today because I'm told that I have to get into some production. I got some people waiting for me, so I don't want to be rude, and we'll sign off a few minutes early. Tomorrow, another big stacked up show all the way leading up till Friday, and we'll give away another pair of Comedy Jam tickets tomorrow. We'll figure out how we're going to do that. I want to thank Erica, my show producer, for lining up all the guests today and yesterday. All the hard work that goes in here behind the scenes. It's definitely a big time project here at Studio 110.live, working on a lot of fun things. Thank you to you, man, for coming in today. Good luck. I'm being serious. Good luck for your drone exam coming up. I want to hear how you did on it. I want to hear how you did on it, and hopefully you get an A+. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yep.
So that shouldn't be any pressure, but looking forward to hearing how you do on that.
Yep.
With that being said, we're going to sign off. Looking forward to be back on the air, shouting out my family, all my friends, all my supporters, all my fans here locally, nationally, worldwide. Dirty Harry is back at it, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow, y'all. 1 o'clock my time, West Coast time. Have a good afternoon.